Hey guys, welcome back to Moolah Goo. I'm Anton.
I'm Simon.
And I'm Ryan.
Today we're going to be looking at some sociology.
Yo, I read this essay by C. Wright Mills the other day. Have you guys checked that out yet?
I just looked at that. It's called the Promise of Sociology, right?
What do you think it hopes to what do you think it really talks about in sociology? What do you think sociology hopes to accomplish?
Yeah, this essay basically talked about how sociology helps bring people to see how their personal lives are connected to bigger sociological issues. And it also encourages us to think beyond just our own problems. And it helps us understand how sociology shapes our life. It also helps us look at issues such as unemployment or marriage and see how they're not just personal issues and they're issues of society.
Why do you think they're issues of society? Just because it's when you get divorced or something, it's everyone knows about it and you don't want to get divorced.
I mean, it kind of talks about how some issues like smaller issues you just had someone pass away in your family affected you this way. Those are pretty personal. But marriage and unemployment, they're such big issues and they happen at such big rates, especially divorce.
Yeah.
That it's not just a single person's issue, it's an issue of society.
Yeah. I watched Crazy Rich Asians the other day. Have any of you guys seen it?
Yeah, I was watching it the other day. It's basically it goes to dominant culture because there's these two families. There's Rachel and there's Nick, and they're dating. And Nick's family is super rich, right? And the richest family in Singapore. And so they go to a wedding for Nick's family, and Nick's mom is super unapproving of Rachel because she's poor and she's American. I mean, she's still Asian, but she's Asian American. And it basically just goes on about how this family, just because Rachel's not one of them, they feel she's not good enough for their son.
And do you think they kind of left her out because she was American and she wasn't really fully part of their culture?
Yeah, definitely, because I mean she was definitely she's part of Asian culture. Her mom grew up in Asia, and it was there was a few scenes where they were just super mean to her, or they left a bloody fish in her bed to try and they were trying to drive her out. They didn't want her there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it also shows some level of social norms when it comes to being in that culture or being with a family that is rich, that they're used to wealth, right? So then they see a person come in that doesn't have what they have, and they're quick to judge or assume things about that person that might not always be true, which is what we see in the movie.
Yeah, for sure.
So going off of movies still, we all saw Breakfast Club, right?
Yeah.
How would we connect the Breakfast Club closer to Fairview?
I mean, I think they had 5 main groups in the movie, and I think one of our main groups would probably be IB kids that take IB classes, because it's a very large part of Fairview and kind of a dominant group when it comes to people at Fairview.
Yeah. I mean, at Fairview also have the athletes, kind of like Andrew in the movie. I mean, just in exactly our sociological. At Fairview, got the athletes. Just in most of my classes, I know at least 4 or 5 athletes. That relates to Andrew in the movie. He was the wrestler. He kind of changed the movie, but kind of athletics were his general personality trait, I'd say. I
think also we've got people which is a pretty small population of Fairview, the people that sit in the corners by the cafeteria. That definitely fits that Allison, the recluse role.
Yeah.
But I don't really think we have a princess role at Fairview. It doesn't really exist.
Yeah, I don't think we really have the top popular kids who's kind of slightly mean. I don't think we really have that.
Yeah, we don't really have that.
Another thing that we see around Fairview a lot that is a lot of kids talk about is the band kids, right? The band kids are kind of in their, not really judged, but in their own section of
own section of person. No.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially because they also they all sit on one side of the school where there's not very many classrooms.
Yeah. They're kind of their own pod over
there. They're all friends with each other, kind of in the same group.
Yeah, for sure. Speaking of all these movies, mass media has had a huge impact on our lives, but also institutions. And institutions I've seen have been using mass media. Mass media such as television has had a large impact on the way families interact. Religion and education have been changed drastically. I mean, education is so much more accessible than it ever is now. Also, economics has been changed drastically just by the advertising we see online. But I think politics haven't changed the most out of anything.
Yeah, especially with the Ukrainian war. We've never seen a war documented as much as this has. Through TikTok and Instagram Reels, we get to see the in-depth details of what's happening in the war, and sometimes it's not fun to watch. much.
Yeah,
Sometimes some of the stuff is grueling, people getting killed, and it really opens people's eyes to like, oh my God, this is happening on the other side of the world. This is real. This is not a like action movie or anything. Like this is happening and this is real and it's affecting people's lives based on that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Another question I have is like, do you guys think like prisons work? It's like kind of just like controversial, but like it's been like in the media a lot recently.
Yeah, that's a good question, and it's kind of mixed because when someone is convicted, it's usually they're convicted because of drugs or like possession of drugs or vandalism, burglary, robbery, you know, and they get sent to prison usually for not very long time, right? And it sets a barrier. It shields them from society, right? So they can't go back and commit more crimes.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the environment inside of prison isn't helping them recover from those. It's not teaching them anything.
Yeah.
In prison, there's gangs, there's more violence, there's drugs being passed around. It's a whole different like social norm in prison, right? And it doesn't help because when they get out, they didn't learn anything. So what do they go back and do?
Like more
Those crimes that they did before.
They kind of like learned like, I need to like fight other people to survive.
Yeah, like they need to be violent in crime.
And that's not always the case, right? Some people really do learn in prison, and I've seen a lot of stories about that. But for the most part, prisons don't help convicts, but it shields them away from society to not commit any more crimes on non-guilty people.
Yeah, I think it also like depends on like the person in jail. Like I just read a book about a guy who like discovered writing while in jail. So I think it's two different paths.
What was that book called?
It was called The Place to Stand. I just read it in LA. And it kind of showed there's two very different paths you can take in jail, but many do take the violent path.
Yeah. Okay, so Simon, I saw you earlier this week taking a personality quiz online. How did that go?
I mean, like we did those like personality quizzes like at the beginning of the year, and like it gave like a lot of insight, and they were like 100 questions long. It was like long. Like this one, it was like on BuzzFeed. It was I think maybe 10 questions long. It was like, what type of cookie are you? And it just asked me like pick between foods, and then it said I was a Linzer cookie, which is like a cookie with like jam in the middle or something like that. And it basically just like it gave me like a whole like paragraph like saying my personality, but like it couldn't like known that because I was just picking between like ribs and mac and cheese or something.
Yeah, that doesn't.
And
tell
it's like
anything
it
about
doesn't
you.
tell me anything about it. And like I know like you tried to take some personality quizzes like earlier this week, and it's like
Yeah, they were just so stupid I didn't even bother.
like it's just like it's really dumb. I took a what type of tank are you?
Yeah,
like
that tells you nothing.
Did tell me what type of tank I was. I mean, like we've all heard about like events like 9/11, Columbine, like Boston Marathon bombing, and like they're like tragic. Like that's very clear. But like I think they do start some conversations that like need to be had and like definitely like enhance stuff throughout like America.
Yeah, and some impacts can be good towards society as well.
I mean, I think the first one that we saw was like enhanced security measures. Like even things like TSA have taken huge steps since 9/11, which has prevented many more tragedies like that.
Yeah.
Another thing is like people say like 9/11 was like the last time like America was like fully united. They were like all like they had like a common enemy, I guess, and that's why they were fully united. But like it was like the last time America was fully united.
Yeah,
we also had like advancements in like emergency responses as well, and how fast people got when the first towers hit, like how fast emergency responders got to the building and rushed up and got the people out of the building, and they saved hundreds, if not 1,000 lives. Right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Another thing with like the security is it also heightened awareness in the country. Now, like especially in cities like New York, if you see something, you're supposed to say something.
Yeah.
Which wasn't really there before all these attacks.
Definitely. And like another thing is like a lot of policy changes in Congress and stuff. It like starts conversations where like we need to like talk and like create stuff like TSA.
Yeah, for sure. So we also read the essay called Upper Class Power, which kind of just examined how the upper class stays there and how they kind of push down the lower class.
I mean, yeah, like the upper class is like holds like so much power. Like the top 1% has like such a high amount of like wealth compared to like everyone else. And like if you're like average like mailman or something and goes like buys something, it's like that money's just going to the top 1% because like you go buy something like Walmart and it's just like the money just goes up until it hits like those top people.
And also like all these top 1%ers, they own like most of the stocks. And they kind of control what the people at the bottom do, even if they don't realize it.
Definitely.
Do you think we should raise gender-neutral children?
I mean, personally, I think it's like a pretty tough topic. I think kids should be given the choice to play with whatever toys they want, and if maybe like
dress up however they want.
Yeah,
like if they like pink or something.
yeah,
like
they should have that freedom. But I don't think we should be calling like our 3-year-olds like, oh, like they them. I think we should always have the choice available, but we don't have to force it on them.
Yeah, definitely. And I think like especially like when you're under like 12, like 15, like when you're not even like a teenager yet, it's like you just really don't understand like the concept of gender. And
It's
like,
hard to make those decisions at a young age as well, and it's good to let like time pass by when you're in your early teens or late adulthood to really realize, hey, this is who I want to be. This is the person that I am going to be. You know.
Yeah, I agree. Like some of those like later steps, like hormone therapy. I think if you do identify as trans, like I think those should be started later than
yeah,
earlier.
definitely, because it's like an irreversible thing.
Yeah, like if you start too young, there can be some serious side effects. If you do decide to change back later.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So another big issue in this country right now is racism. Is there any ways that you guys know that it can be anti-racist?
I think like one of the biggest like ways to do it is you gotta hold your friends accountable, like in family. If they say something racist, just like you see something, say something, basically.
Yeah, I agree. Like especially around Fairview, like you do hear things that, like are meant as jokes. I think you have to really hold people to their words and let them know that it's not okay.
Yeah, definitely.
Or like, you know, not including passive aggressive questions and such that relate towards people's religion or ethnicity.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Like coming up to somebody and asking like, oh, I didn't know that you were a certain type of race, right? Like that's not good.
Yeah, it's even like small things. Like you'll see a person that's a different race and you'll be like, oh, where are you from? And like just those small things that you don't really think are racist, they do add up.
And they do have impacts on people. As
Yeah,
well.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.